Alright guys, Touchcrab here back again today. Hope you're all enjoying your Tuesday. This is a video I really didn't hope I would have to make, but I wanted to talk about some glitches that are going on with the game right now that have been discovered pretty much since CDL Minnesota, and some clips as well to share. The real big one is this genuine invisibility glitch in the game right now, which I imagine, I believe at least, is associated with these new cosmetics that they've put into game for the players and the teams, to where you guys may notice, if you guys remember, watching Minnesota, the Florida Mutineers, for example, they had like a white and kind of bluey outfit. The Los Angeles Guerrillas had a black and kind of, purpley kind of outfit going on, which already causes issues, right? Given that you could say that one outfit stands out more than another. Could, some teams have an advantage, but more than others, which is a legitimate concern at a very high level professional play. But at the same time, there's a clearly much bigger issue where some of these character models are not rendering at certain ranges, which effectively is rendering people completely invisible and unable to be seen. I'll share some clips in the coming minutes. Like if you guys enjoy, subscribe if you're new, as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much for 17,000 subscribers as well. Appreciate every single one of you. It really does make my day when you guys comment down below and smash the like button and all of that stuff as well. But yeah, thanks very much for that. I still think about 50% of people watching my videos are not yet subscribed, so that's one of you and you'd like to consider it, that'd be greatly appreciated. Let's hop into it then. So Brack, of course, we talked about him yesterday related to this Toronto Ultra team. Thought this was an interesting comment really here, saying all friendships, boycotts, pathetic, all it ever will be, says Brack. So maybe that's a sentence saying that he kind of wishes he was on that Toronto Ultra main team and maybe doesn't have the connections. Here we go then. So this comes out from the Gaming Revolution. Thanks for Credit CDL Intel for pointing this out. These are a few answers to questions that he gave a long time ago, maybe over a month ago now. And just the main thing it really confirms is that, well, not confirms at all, but this guy's leaked a lot of stuff about the game, and he says right here in reply to this tweet, this is all the way back in November, but he does reply to it probably in December sometime. Ranked CDL playlist is being worked and it should come out towards January. Clearly that hasn't happened, but supposedly in December time they were at least working on a ranked playlist, so potentially over the next couple of months we could see something. Certain decisions were made with CDL in mind. They reckon there was debate within the office about bringing the normal minimap back. It's really a concern that hasn't affected us in the competitive scene. And also dead silence. This is an interesting point, reckoning that the developers say that 60 to 70% of players use it in previous games when they make it a perk. Maybe that's in Search and Destroy, but I really can't see how that has been the case in past games. That figure really surprises me because I don't find that in my own play at all playing previous games. I'd only really use dead silence in Search and Destroy. But regardless, there's some interesting comments. To go through this as well, we talked about Pharaoh potentially joining a different team. It looks like he's joined Hybrid Gaming, the black side of things, with a Hollow, Mac and Cells, with Vivid being their fifth as well. So really interesting move. Of course, this was the team that came seconds. So Cells, Charles, Hollow, Mac and Stamino. So Charles, I guess that you pronounce that. Stamino, they're out the door. Vivid and Pharaoh look like they're in on this Hybrid black squad. Here we go then. This is the main clip to talk about. So this comes in from Billy. Thanks for Gavin to pointing this out to me, because this is honestly pretty mental, and this is really what I'm talking about. So I'll just make this full screen and just so you guys can see it in the biggest fashion here. There's an individual, I think he's using the Dallas Empire outfit, but definitely, Cloak of Invisibility it's described as, but definitely this can also happen with other outfits as well. And you can see at this kind of range, and I will make this full screen as I say in just a second, you can't even see the guy.
Matt, let's do it on this angle. Just keep walking back. Just keep walking back.
Wait, what the fuck?
Has it worked for you yet? Yeah, there you go.
Wait, it's like when I'm hit fire. Wait, when I'm hit fire. Yeah, when I'm on a hit fire, I can only see your head,
Matt, walk back. Matt, walk back. I see it now. Look at that. What the fuck? Man, it's like the Harry Potter Cloak of Invisibility.
Wait.
Wait.
What the fuck? Oh my god, nah. Jump off the heady.
Now this is definitely also the case with other camos in the game, because as Aches goes on to point out right here, by the way guys, you can still buy the Los Angeles Guerrillas CDL team pack. I'm hearing if you equip it on the right operators, you might just go invisible in game for your enemies. Tweet me some pics of what gear you are wearing. This is the reply from Miles, of course. It's kind of a funny one. So look, this is crazy stuff. This is something that you wouldn't expect to be in the game, but it's just glitches that happen and that occur. At the same time though, this is pretty outrageous, right? Like these kind of outfits not rendering at certain ranges. Of course, buildings in the background are still rendering, but for some reason, certain player models at certain ranges, as Ake says, on certain operators, when you are not zoomed in. So right here, it seems like as he's zoomed out, he doesn't see him. As soon as he aims down sight, he does see him again. But at this kind of range, say you're running around, you literally just see a floating head walking through the air, which, if you're not careful, you can't even see it. That's not something that should ever be in the game. I don't really see how these rendering issues even come into play at certain ranges. Surely it must just be a developer oversight. Of course, player models should always render at any range, just in case you could be able to see them, right? But clearly there's something about the camos maybe not rendering at certain ranges on the outfits that causes this glitch to occur. To my understanding, this is still in the game right now and will be potentially affecting gameplay this coming weekend. I'm intrigued to see how this looks on Codcaster. I guess they still have like a line drawn around them, but sometimes I guarantee they'll affect this weekend potentially, because it seems like Activision is forcing the professionals to use their camos. It depends to see what will happen here, but we saw it at Minnesota. They all had to use their certain camouflages, right, to advertise it, I guess. If you're Mutineers, you wear the Mutineers camo. If you're Dallas, you wear the Dallas camo. And as I'm saying, if you're Dallas or Guerrillas, apparently, you might even become invisible. This may only be the case with certain character models, and I imagine if you're like an Optic Gaming Los Angeles and your character models don't make you invisible, you're gotta feel pretty hard done by. Something that we should never even have to consider, right? But still, a very interesting point, and I think Slasher talks about it as well. How is it still a thing? I'm scrimming a broken game mode, which is Domination, which because there's some issues with how the counters time up in Domination or whatever, and people now have camouflage. Like, what game mode do you mean modes? I know, man, still not update for us. I really want this thing to be successful. Infinity Ward couldn't care less if it is, says Aches in this instance. And these are some other things to talk about related to the spawns. You can't do a video on issues with the game without going back to the spawns right now. This is a clip right here from JCap. He literally watches Kismet spawn in here against the Paris Legion. Some of the spawns in this game are pretty mental, so we've got this clip right here, which I'll play on screen.
153, tied game. Optic Gaming take the lead now as they have control of the second hill. Paris, though.
And then we go on to this clip just after this of where the players spawn in. And this really is one of the big issues that a lot of the professionals have with the game right now, is the unpredictability of the spawns. If you look at this, I'll make it full screen for you guys. Like, I'll just play it on repeat. Like, this doesn't really make sense in terms of where players are spawning. 4 players spawn in 4 different places at the same time. How are you meant to predict this? If you're an expert, you're looking at the map right now, the locations they spawn isn't outrageous, but it's just the fact that they spawn in so many different locations, especially this guy on the far left side that spawns really pushed up. The only reason it seems like he's spawned there is because his teammates are pushed in and like have already spawned up and have some kind of map control behind him, and therefore that's enabled him to get that further forward spawn. That's really stuff that it's really difficult to predict. Like, this guy, especially on the top side of the map right now, that's not an individual that you can expect to be there, especially as like the 4th spawner, right? It really is confusing in terms of how the spawns work when the very last guy you kill ends up being the one who spawns closest to the hill. How does that even make sense? But regardless, that's not ideal. Some of the spawns in this game make sense, but there's many examples like this of where it's very, very difficult to predict. And in this situation with the hill over here, like, it shouldn't be too hard to figure out where your enemies are coming from. It's just when you have hills that are elsewhere and you're still getting dodgy spawns like this, that really can turn the tide of the game. And as Slasher, I think he says later on that it's, 8 out of 10 times in some of these clips, no one in the world would be able to predict where these players are going to spawn. Only the magic of the Infinity Ward algorithm. Then you've got this clip as well related to the 12 hertz kind of situation. I'll play this on big screen for you guys. How Spoof gets absolutely railed right here. Don't know how, to be honest, he dies. It's pretty incredible scenes. But regardless, these kind of things happen, and these kind of things happen on LAN as well. This is a tweet then from Slasher the other day. Thanks to Greg for pointing this out to me. I did talk about this the other day, but still, usually I'd agree, but sorry, there comes a point where someone has to be held accountable. It's literally my job to be the best in the world, and I'm playing a game with damn near RNG spawns and glitches all over the place, false promises all over the place. It's a joke. And a few other things to mention as well, related to Domination as well as a game mode. We talked about some of the broken things that go on with that right now. We talked about that in some depth a while ago, so I didn't want to dive too much into it today. But, JCap says, obviously not how we wanted to start the CDL, long season ahead of us. Slasher then says, if I knew why things were happening, it would be easy to stop sucking. Only time I ever lost without a clue as to why things happen, and I've been playing for a long time now. Sounds like excuses to some degree, but as Slasher says, I've watched and played a lot. Not a single person can accurately guess the spawns 8 out of 10 clips I can provide. I'll wager thousands on that. And, tested it for hours on 10 consoles. Wanted to make sure I wasn't crazy. We needed a spawn update in all respawn modes now. The things I'm seeing, I don't know why the logic ever changed in the first place. We reckons when they changed the logic, it maybe got even worse for the state of the game. Then you've got this from Doug Sensor Martin. Domination has to go, period, he says. So he doesn't clearly like Domination in the game right now. Pretty interesting stuff. Of course, what are you going to put instead? We've had this discussion about CTF. Would that even play better? Personally, I'm doubtful. So maybe we're just stuck for domination, you know, for the year. At least, hopefully, we can start get some glitch fixes and make the spawns make more sense. I kind of like the strides they've taken in domination with the flag neutralization, but I still think there's a way to go until it's a good, competent, competitive mode. But it still does seem to me that the best teams right now in the game are still winning. So, you know, the Atlanta FaZe, the Chicago Huntsmen, for example, we expected them to be good teams. They were good teams. At the end of the day, how much randomness is there in the game? Does it even out over time? Is a question to be had. And even Adam Apicella here, who would never usually say this kind of stuff, but now he's not directly associated with MLG and Activision. You know, he's with this esports engine stuff. They're doing the Optic, they're doing the New York, homestand events. And he says, I don't want this to be taken the wrong way, but I love what the COD League is doing. But domination needs to go. Do it all hardpoint and search and destroy. Just my opinion, but it's too tough to follow and not great. And Control, honestly, you know, this throwback, as Inflammable Fire says here, like, honestly, what a great game mode that was in hindsight. I didn't think it was fantastic in terms of how the game was set up. It was kind of a combination of hardpoint and S&D, but it made a lot of sense for a viewer, and it really created some great hype moments. Like in domination, the amount of hype moments you get where it's like it's a clutch clap flag that's, you know, that's a, what am I even saying? But, you know, flag cap that's gonna, you know, change the outcome of the game. That doesn't really happen. You get to a point where someone's just going to win mathematically and the hype all dies down. Whereas in Control, it could be a 1v1, a 1v2, like you get super intense, it's respawn, but you also have that S&D clutch factor. There was a lot of great stuff about Control. It's just one of those game modes that Treyarch introduces, maybe even like Hardpoint way back in the Black Ops 2 days, and then the next developer says, actually, no, we don't like that. And as Infinity Ward did in Ghosts, didn't even bring Hardpoint in the game. We were playing Domination and Blitz. So I guess it could be worse. And this very final tweet to go through then from Slasher. So, you know, another spawn situation here. This is on a gun run, a Hardpoint, I believe. I guess I'll zoom in for you guys on this, and Slasher does his classic thumbs up quote, which is honestly really funny now. I do like the meme behind that. But yeah, some of these spawns don't make a lot of sense. I'll just play for this full screen for you guys to finish off the video. Like, look at this spawn out right here that we see. Oh, this is in Domination. Sorry, not Hardpoint. Now I've actually zoomed into full screen. But these spawn flips you see in this example are really pretty insane. It doesn't really seem to me like Optic Gaming are pushing up too far in this example. Like, they seem to have some decent map control. There's one guy that's still all the way back here on the C flag kind of spawn. But for some reason, the spawn logic seems to be pretty damn noob friendly to the point where it will try and spawn people out to shoot people in the back. Whereas realistically here, Optic are not exerting too much pressure in my opinion. Like this player isn't really too far pushed up. In my opinion, this doesn't necessarily, you know, contribute to a spawn out, especially given this player just spawned back here. In my opinion, it kind of makes sense that they should keep spawning here. Maybe this player was blocking some of the angles, but still, the spawn out is questionable. Thanks for watching as always. Like if you guys enjoyed, subscribe if you're new. I'll see you next time.